Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
I hope I can be heard. Let me see. Harriet, are you online?
Can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me. All right. So HOD, with your permission, can we start? It's 4 o'clock.
Right. Yes, we should.
All right. Thank you very much. So good afternoon all once again to our distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, alumni, students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Department of Geomatic Engineering, KNUST, I warmly welcome all of you to our distinguished lecture series 1. Today's event marks the first of several distinguished lectures organized in celebration of the department's Golden Jubilee, and we are truly delighted to have you join us this afternoon. We have on program Reverend Aye to give us the opening prayer, but I don't know if he's online. If he is, he can take the opening prayer. Otherwise, I'll call on our head of department. He's a head of department and also a pastor. So he'll give us the opening prayer, and then thereafter continue immediately with the welcome address and the opening remark. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Quatten, for the advert. Shall we pray? Dear Lord, we are grateful to you for the gift of life. May our discussions here be successful. In your name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So I guess by the moderator's order, we will continue with the program. So my name is Ato Andam Akofo. For those of you who may not know me, and for many of you, the alumni, you know me. I'm so grateful to have all of you here. I can see people like my president, Mr. Kwame Tinedu, several other very important personnel or persons in the geomatics industry in Ghana, globally, and in Ghana in particular. The Department of Geomatic Engineering, as has been said in our earlier meetings, was established in the 1975-1976 academic year as a separate program. Although from the inception of the university, the department was there. I mean, the program Geomatics Engineering was in different forms within the university. It used to be a certificate program under the Department of Engineering. Then when civil engineering was started as a respective department, the program was within the civil engineering program. And so in those years, you would do civil engineering. By the time you get to third year, you would choose to major in what they would call geodetic engineering at the time, or the civils in the time. Along the line, the then survey department requested for a program to be established to help train land sector professionals in the country. So a separate department was formed, and the program Geodetic Engineering was started in the academic year 1975-1976 with our own Professor Duka and another person, I think in the name of Mr. Dodu. Two of them were the first two students, and Professor Fosu and Co. also joined as time went on. And this is 50 years ago, and this is what we have here. And this 50 years, we thought it wise to celebrate the funding of the department and to look at what we've done in the past and what we can do going forward. So we put together this program, the 50th anniversary to remind us. And the theme that we have chosen is from the chains to we are reminding ourselves that we started by using chains, and now we've moved to the level of using microwave instruments, total stations, and now we are moving on to big data, AI, and all sort of wonderful technologies that are available to us. So this afternoon, we have two distinguished speakers to help us delve into what geomatics or the geospatial industry is going to now. We have persons of a wonderful friend of a department, Mr. Krine Drazen, and another wonderful man in the person of Mr. Henry Kwamina Bafo. Krine has been a wonderful advocate for the department. He has helped us in many, many ways. So I am so grateful to have him join us here. He has not just been good to geomatics engineering here at Kia University, but he has been also very helpful to the profession as a whole in Ghana. His footprints can especially be seen in the Ghana Water Company. We all know what they've been doing in terms of geospatial technology and water delivery. In celebrating this anniversary or this talk, we are looking at GeoAI, big data, and emerging technologies for environmental monitoring and smart development in Ghana. I will not talk much about it because our two speakers will do justice to it, and our moderator will introduce them properly. But I want to encourage you, and I want to assure you that you are in for a great time. These are two individuals that have been in a geospatial space for some time, and they have been involved in activities that have brought about changes in nations and brought about developments in their own right. I want us to remind ourselves that as we celebrate our 50 years, as a department, we are preparing ourselves to be a very modern department that trains the best geospatial professionals you can find wherever you are. Many of you here have passed through this department, and many of you are doing so well in your own rights, and want to continue training students that will do so well even as we move through this world of big data, AI, and several things. But we cannot do that when we don't have the support of industry. We cannot do that when we don't have the support of alumni and other stakeholders. So through this means, I also want to encourage us all that we also allow fundraising to help us acquire resources to train the best students in geomatics. And we would encourage all of you to, in your own way, whatever you can contribute in helping us to acquire more resources to train our students. At the moment, we are severely in short of basic geospatial instruments for training our students. Last Friday, exactly a week ago, around this same time, I had a student sit right across me in this office, and he told me that he had to join a queue from 3 a.m. in order to get an instrument for them to go and complete a failed task. And I was broken. I felt no student should ever have to go through that. I mean, how can you join a queue for such a long time in order to get instruments for you to do work that has been given to you by the department? So we are calling upon you, our alumni, to support us in this time to be able to get whatever we can get to train our students, that they would help in delivering great geospatial products to this nation. Thank you very much for joining us. And I know that you're going to be wowed. I know that our two facilitators are going to really, really help us to see what it is that the industry, the direction the industry is moving. And so we are so grateful to have you here. Enjoy. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Professor Samuel Ato Andam Akofo, the HOD of the Department of Geomatic Engineering, for your gracious and thoughtful opening remark. Please, a few housekeeping announcements before we proceed. I would encourage everyone to remain muted. So far, so good. There hasn't been any background interruption. Mute your microphone and you will turn it on when we are ready to ask questions or respond to any questions if possible. And also, I would like, if possible, if your reception is good, to turn on your cameras, because it's been a while. For some of us, we met about 20 years ago and we have never seen each other. If it's possible to turn on your camera so that we can see those you have missed over the years, to foster interactions between us. And this meeting is being recorded for documentation and also for educational purposes. I mean, over the years, after this, people will come and then get to know what happened on this day. And as HOD rightly said, we'll have two presentations, and then after the second presentation, we'll open the floor for questions, and then our presenters will respond to the questions. So as the presentation is ongoing, you can send your questions to the Zoom chat or put them in writing so that you don't forget. Okay, that's fine. Now, the theme again for today is Geo AI, Big Data, and Emerging Technologies for Environmental Monitoring and Smart Development in Ghana. The objective of today's lecture is to provide a platform for leading experts from industry and research institutions to share insights on emerging geospatial technologies and strategies or strategic partnerships that can support sustainable development in Ghana. It is our hope that this discussion will inspire new ideas, strengthen collaborations between us, and encourage all of us to harness innovation in addressing environmental and developmental challenges. I'd want to first introduce our speaker. He is going to give us the presentation on our theme, as I have said. He is in the person of Mr. Henry Kwamina Bafo. Is Mr. Henry online, please?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Let me introduce. I just wanted to be sure you were there. So Mr. Bafo is the managing director and co-founder of Big Data Ghana Limited, a leading geospatial technology company providing geointelligence solutions across Africa. With more than a decade of experience in GIS, remote sensing, environmental modeling, climate monitoring, and spatial data application, he has successfully led numerous projects that demonstrate Hello?
Can I hear you?
Hello?
We lost you a bit.
Yeah, you are back. Can I hear you?
I'm back, yes. So, Mr. Henry, please, the floor is yours. You can start your presentation. Thank you. Please share your slides if you have.
Yeah, I'm sharing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, thank you for the opportunity. I want to confirm whether my slides are visible.
Yes, please. We can see your slides.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I want to appreciate everyone for joining the call. My name is Henry Bafu, and I'm the managing director for Big Data Ghana Limited. Distinguished, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the Vice Chancellor, the distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the head of department for the Geomatic Engineering Department, alumni and fellows, students, industry players, ladies and gentlemen. It's 50 years, and that is 5 decades of engineering work, 5 decades of geospatial work, training and building industry professionals to take and to shape the nation's development. I believe that is a great feat and worth celebrating. It's interesting that in my short career, I've happened to work with a lot of geomatic engineers, and I can see quite a number of them connected. Interestingly, also in my days in K University, I happened to be doing a lot of learning at the engineering library. Little did I know that I will be so associated with the engineering, geomatic engineers. And so it's a great pleasure for me to be here. I also want to acknowledge the guest speaker and my fellow speaker, Crane Dressing, and truly, like the head of department mentioned, I think he's done fantastic work with the Ghana Water Company. I didn't know that he's the face behind that great work that is happening. So, whilst we are celebrating these 50 years, let me take the opportunity to wish you happy 50th anniversary. And we hope that the department is going to be there for many more years to provide the professionals that they have done so in these past 5 decades. But of course, with a renewed emphasis on producing students that are capable of leveraging the emerging technologies to helping solve Ghana's, or let me say, Africa's greatest problem, which interestingly is not just about technology, but more about decision making and taking the right decisions, So I believe that is what we should be expecting for the next 50 years. The data exists, and from where I sit as the MD for big data, I know, and I believe that many of us are aware of several data points, several data catalogs, open, free, available. You can name the Sentinels, you can name the Digital Earth Africa, you can name the Google Cloud. Several data exist. So the issue or what confronts Ghana and for that matter, Africa is not a data issue, it's a decision issue. And this is where the professionals here, the geomatic and geospatial professionals, have to appreciate that we sit at the intersection of helping policymakers, helping businesses, helping individuals to take critical decisions that has a lasting impact on their lives. And I'll share some couple of examples of some of the issues that exist that I sincerely believe that there are no better people to helping solve than the professionals here gathered. So, like I mentioned, it's not a data problem at all. We have petabytes of data. I happen to, Digital Earth Africa, for example, has more than 5 petabytes of satellite data on Africa alone, So, but rather, whilst this data set exists, a farmer still is not aware whether how many bags of maize they are going to get from their produce. Somebody who is going to build a house is not sure what will happen to that property, that huge investment in the next 20, 30 years. The country is only reactive to the forest laws. What is lost to Galamsey, which is a very topical issue in this country. So the issue is that there is vast amount of data that can show us where Galamsey is happening. There is vast amount of data that can tell us the where it got flooded. But I think that those are all reactions that, by virtue of technology advancement, we should be able to answer. We should be able to halt. We should be able to stop before they get worse. So this is where we are. Ghana, we have mapped with our theodolite and other technology and devices, have mapped Ghana. We have measured, we have secured our boundaries, we know the shorelines, we have a lot of data points, but this has to translate to decision. This has to help the decision maker, whether government, whether policy maker, whether the everyday individual, to take the right decisions. So, of course, like I have to comment, many people, when they see the Geomatic engineers with their theodolite and things, they are wondering, road construction, and these people are there with their total stations and things. What are they doing? And that all of such field activities has resulted in volumes of data being made available. Now also that data is stored, is accessible, and then voila, whilst before we could even think of what to do, AI also emerges. And a vast amount of data is required for AI to be able to forecast, predict, and generate insight and intelligence that is required to take decisions. So we come to the Geo AI era, where we are not interested merely in making beautiful maps, cartographic work, photogrammetry, and the likes, but where that we are able to look ahead. When you consider a company like Planet, we have daily coverage data, daily satellite footage across the globe sitting there. And then we now have huge compute power for AI models, agents, and the amazing thing that it keeps changing at a rapid pace. So then, machine learning, artificial intelligence, AI agents, putting this together gives us an unprecedented opportunity to make significant impact in the country's development by churning out, again, not maps, again, not dashboard. Dashboard shows beautiful outcome, a beautiful result of our technical skills, but that ought not to be the objective or the goal. The goal has to be beyond that. The goal has to be the impact that we are making. So consider that our geospatial data, with the various vast amount of data centers that are springing up everywhere, and the emergence of AI, should result in not beautiful technical output, but rather intelligence that empowers key decision makers to take the right decisions. So that is the next 50 years and where we should be looking at. So the department should be looking at and modifying, if it is not already having that in their curriculum, but modifying the curriculum to include such courses. It is no longer, for example, my background is computer science. Before I did masters in geographic information systems. But like I said, I've been working with geomatic engineers that have been programming, that have been building solutions. But now the solutions are not enough. Nice maps, nice portals, nice apps. But if it cannot influence decision making, if it cannot empower critical decision to be made, for example, where should we invest? Investors, banks, they are making significant investment, high volume investment. But I believe that we have what it takes to tell them where they should invest. For example, Big Data Ghana has the Ghana Agriculture Information Management System. And there is vast data behind this. But you see, what our objective or what we are looking at is that the farmer and the agribusiness person should be able to say that I want to crop at Volta region. I want to do maize farm at Volta region or rice farm at Volta region. How close am I to an irrigation facility? What has the rainfall patterns been like? What is the nature of the soil? Beautiful. But if I do farm, what are my gains? What is the outcome? What's the outcome going to look like? So that is where we are looking at. When the investor comes onto such a platform, the investor want to take a decision of, should I invest there or not? Should I invest in this farming, in this particular domain or not? And that is the agri sector. If they are citing a processing factory, where should they cite the processing factory? And depending on the capacity of the processing factory, considering the farms and the source of raw material around, are they guaranteed the volumes that they need to make production meaningful? Should they go ahead and invest and build? You are building a processing facility. You can't build it. It's not like a Lego that is built today and then tomorrow you dismantle it and move it to another place. So that critical decision, I believe that Geo AI, big data, and cloud combined with our technical expertise should be able to let them take that decision. So again, the crop map is not the problem, and we have many of such outputs in the system. The investment decision is the issue that has to be addressed. And now let's look at another example. What must we protect before it is lost? I shared in my opening remarks that we built a national forest monitoring system with the Forestry Commission of Ghana. But beyond that, we have gone ahead to integrate AI so that it is not just about monitoring and seeing that, okay, there is deforestation going on here in the forest, or there is a forest loss at this part of the country. that information usually comes too little, too late. In the era of AI, with this vast amount of historic data on forest degradation, deforestation, and the various factors that have significantly depleted some of our forest reserves, can we be proactive? Can we come to a place where we say that, okay, based on this pattern, these areas are likely to suffer forest loss. And so the powers that be, the leadership with those with the mandate of protecting our forest resources, can they have something that will help them to be proactive, develop plans so that it is averted? So we have the Forest Trace AI. During a recent generative AI challenge, which we participated under the auspices of AWS, Amazon Web Services, we moved a step further from just a national forest monitoring system, monitoring and giving statistics of the sequestration and all of that, to the anticipatory intelligence, as we call it, to be able to highlight and say, this volume of forest may be lost if no interventions are put in place. And that is the direction that I believe that each and every professional here, and the student and every stakeholder here should be looking at. A prediction does not protect the forest. It's the decision that protects the forest. And so we have to tool such a body like the Forestry Commission and all the other stakeholders to be able to make timely interventions that saves our natural resources. Then, of course, the most recent reality check again, where will the next flood cause avoidable loss? And the interesting question is that, or the interesting point is that it is avoidable. You know, risk is a choice. We have known, even without the technology being used at its peak, there has been a lot of risk maps, hazard maps, flood hazard, flood risk maps. Interestingly, I was involved in a project some 8 years or so ago, where flood risk maps were done to tool some government agencies responsible for some of these issues. However, the rains came 8 years on, and lives were lost, properties were lost, and we seem to have not solved the problem. So then, what was the use of the flood maps, the nice and beautiful maps and portals that were done? It's clear then that the real issues are not necessarily these maps, but the intelligence that reaches the hand of the decision maker, of the planning officer, the NADMOs, and then the rest of the key stakeholders within the sector, to be able to aid proper planning. That, and then even the investor, you're going to buy this land on the basis of the historic data. This is what we can tell you, and on the basis of that, we want you not to invest, or we want you to invest with this precaution, measured risk, so that if they go ahead to do so, then they bear the full consequences. And I think that technology has evolved for us to be able to do exactly that. So we again are building a flood intelligence agent and a platform, to give access. So the question is that, what are the implications of this development? You give the coordinates and things which your expertise and your tools allow us to be able to have. as accurately as possible. And then they get an insight and even a recommendation that, hey, this has a high flood exposure and it's sitting within the corridors of a low-lying corridor with a certain drainage distance, blah, blah, blah. So because of that, you need to do a detailed drainage assessment and then elevation review, blah, blah, like the things that we know. And then come to an output or an outcome that says that go ahead with this degree of caution, or don't go ahead because the risk is too high. That is what I believe the industry or the business community and the country is looking for. So we have the ability to let them ask critical questions to our system that we build so that they don't guess. We remove guesswork. When big data as a phenomenon started, one of the key slogans was that data gives you better outcome than guesswork. And it is true. So I believe that this is a critical time for each and every one of us here, that there is an evolution and we must move with that so that we can be very relevant and solve real problems. So the hard truth, as I've said, Africa has no shortage of pilots and of technical professionals, of geomatic engineers. Maybe more is needed. However, we have them. When you go to the district assemblies, when you go to the special authorities, we are there. But outputs are not outcomes. I'm sure that when the floods came, we saw, those of us who are alive on online, on socials, we saw several maps being displayed, but that's not what is needed. What is needed are not the dashboards. What is needed are not the beautiful maps. What is needed is the intelligence reaching the hands of the decision maker. I can't emphasize this enough, but that is the truth. And I want at least everyone on this lecture to appreciate that this is where we are, and that there should be a paradigm shift so that we don't stop at doing beautiful technical output, but rather we progress to supporting quality decision making with our work. So the challenge to all the key different categories of people here in this room is that, especially, we should stop asking the question, what map can I create? You know, you will see somebody's thesis, I made a map of this. I believe that we should move away from that to asking the decision question. What decisions ought to be taken in this country, in the sector, and how can I contribute to ensuring that good decisions are made? So we should look at how we can improve decision making rather than what beautiful tools and maps and dashboards and things that we can create. That is the challenge for all of us. The student, of course, you are an engineering student, but like I said, almost all the geomatic students or geomatic professionals that I have worked with over the decade or two, they have all been developers. So, of course, learn your Python, learn the JavaScript, be able to build the systems. But the question is that you are not just building systems, you are supporting quality decision making. And we have them all. IoT devices are churning out volumes of data on daily basis. I believe if the Meteo people are here, they are getting accurate data on rainfall patterns and climatic data. Air quality data exists. Seismic data is coming in. If my Ghana Space Science people are here. All of that data is converging and we're able to store it in the cloud and all of that. So we have to obviously think globally, know what is available, harness them, but deploy decision or decision intelligence systems that will help the decisions that we take to be richer than before. So for the next 50 years, I believe that this is this is the direction that we should look at. So the uh, the department, I humbly re-echo the fact that we should look at if we have to even set up a Geo AI lab, we can gladly do so. And I believe that presently we are partners with Amazon Web Services. We can speak and then look at the support in terms of cloud infrastructure that we can provide provision so that students can explore, students can try things out. And I believe that once the resources are there, shaping or making changes to such curriculum to help your students to be at par with the changing fast and evolving pace of technology will be made possible. We have a number of foundational, geospatial foundational models. All of that can be leveraged for the student to explore, build on it, do wonderful things that eventually can support the quality decision-making process of this country, because from the onset, you have been part of shaping the national agenda. The nation's development you have played a key role in it. And so for the next 50 years, if the transition doesn't take place for us to be comfortable with the Geo AIs and the AI and cloud, we may be missing out on it. And I don't think that your students will be missing out. So the next 50 years, professionals that you churn out, I believe that they will be well tooled, well resourced, well empowered to be able to significantly continue to provide support and impact in Ghana's development. Once we have done that, technology, of course, cannot replace leadership. But once we have done that and we are churning out decision enhancement solutions or outcomes, they don't have an excuse. They do not have an excuse in not solving the problems that confronts us. So that is the future that I believe that we should be looking at for the next 50 years. So I just want to again appreciate the opportunity given to me by the department. I acknowledge the Vice Chancellor. I appreciate her for the opportunity. And then I appreciate the head of department who also happens to bear my name. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And then to all the professionals and the student body for inviting me, and everyone on this call for giving attention to my lecture. I believe that it's thought-provoking indeed, and there should be a lot of reaction and questions coming from there. So thank you very much once again for the opportunity, and then I would like to hand over to our moderator. Thank you so much, Medasi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henry Kwame Nabafo, for your insightful presentation and the challenge thrown to us as a department and also as students and industry players. He says that we have to be proactive. We don't wait for the event to happen before we come in with the maps. We should rather, through AI and big data, be able to collect enough information and put in the predictive models and be able to put in the interventions to avert bad events from happening. We are so grateful, Mr. Henry. And at this point, I would quickly would introduce our second speaker. Our second speaker is in the person of Mr. Crane Drayson. He is the Waterworks Project Manager for VEI Ghana. Mr. Drayson has over 25 years of international experience in the water sector. He's currently the lead. He currently leads the water operator partnership between the Dutch Water Section and Ghana Water Limited. I have some colleagues in the Ghana Water Limited, Gloria, Jeff, Michael. I hope all of you are on the call this afternoon. His work spans investment mobilization, utility management, capacity development, and strategic collaborations with universities, including KNUST. Through his partnership, he advances innovative application for remote sensing, drone technology, and geospatial solutions in water resource management. In his presentation this afternoon, he's going to explore how stronger partnership between industry and academia can harness emerging geospatial technologies and strategic approaches to address real-world challenges. His talk is titled Bridging Industry and Academia, Harnessing Emerging Geospatial Technologies and Strategic Partnership for Environmental Monitoring and Sustainable Development in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Krijn Drayson.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good
Special
afternoon.
a thank you to the Department of Geomatic Engineering for the invitation, and of course to the chairperson and moderator for the kind words. And there's a big challenge ahead of me because I have to follow a very insightful presentation which centers around decisions. And I want to hopefully follow it up. But let me come back to the topic. The KN University has described the journey of geomatics as a journey from chains to satellites. Now that's a powerful description, but although I'm not a geomatic expert, I must observe that over the last 50 years, and I'm now 52 myself, the tools have changed dramatically. We have now remote sensing, LiDAR, drones, artificial intelligence, and spatial analytics. Now, my question today is a slightly different from Mr. Bafu, as it focused more on how we can move from technology in theory in the university to an improvement in the society and organization, or in the words of Buffer, how we can make better decisions. So how do we move from good research idea or a signed MOU to an activity that improves the service and protects, for example, the environment or enhances somebody's career? Now, I am a project manager for the Water Operating Partnership that manage the relationship between the Dutch water sector on the one hand and Ghana Water on the other. And I hope that over the next 15 minutes, I will share some of my practical lessons that I've learned from working in Ghana and abroad, and specifically about the partnerships that I've engaged with here in Ghana. Oh, all right. So it is no secret that anywhere in the world, and also in Ghana, academia plays an important role in bringing in and introducing innovations. But I would avoid the claim that every important innovation starts at the university. It's also some ideas might come from the private sector, public agencies, or field workers or communities. But it is important that innovations is supported by evidence, and that having an innovation ecosystem will perform better when research institutions, industry, and government exchange knowledge effectively. Hereby, I want to refer to a World Bank study on higher education and innovation that highlights that developing countries, unfortunately, have weaker university and industrial interactions and lower innovation outcomes. So it's important that universities and industries will interact more closely to get better outcomes. Now, my practical interpretation of how we can bridge research and institutions is shown here. And that is that research can be excellent, but it still needs a defined problem, usable data, as Mr. Buffer already highlighted. We have a lot of it, but also a prototype, a field test, but also very important, an operational owner and resources. If you remove one of those planks of the bridge, then it will become more difficult to cross. The final destination should not be a paper or a demonstration or an output, but more an outcome. It is something that can be repeated for use. Like, for example, a manager makes a better decision, which then results that, for example, a field staff saves time and a utility like Ghana Water reduces its water losses. Like, for example, a smarter way to repair burst and leakages. Now, one reason that partnerships might struggle is that organizations or partners that are involved are not working in the same clock, or, for example, have the same drivers and objectives. Like, if I look at the university and academia, they are rewarding rigor, publications, methodological contributions, and student learning. A water utility like Ghana Water is rewarded or criticized based on whether the water reaches its customers, whether costs are controlled, whether systems are safe, and whether regulations are followed. Development partners like myself and funders have a different objectives. They have milestones safeguard, but also very important accountability for the funding that we spend. So none of these clocks or drivers or objectives are wrong. The problem arises when we pretend they are the same. Now, before I became the Waterworks project manager, I spent most of my career on the financial side. I started out as an investment analyst, later became a financial controller, and about 20 years ago, I even spent 3 years as the finance manager for Ghana Water operations. So finance has always been part of my professional background. And I'm now even a certified management accountant. But perhaps what has made me surprising is that my master was nothing to do with finance. It was with marketing. And one of the things that helped me change the mindset, utilizing this marketing degree, is to switching from unique selling points to unique buying points. And there's a big difference. And I hope that later in the presentation, you will understand the differences. Because usually universities often approach industry by presenting their unique selling points, their laboratory, their equipment, their professors, their courses, and their research interest. These are very important, but the conversation should start from the other side. What are the partners' unique buying points? What decision is stuck? What operational pain is the most costly? Or what data already exists, but what would a successful result look like? Now, when I was a student myself in the Netherlands, My university organized paid commercial assignments for groups of students, and that was a very important part of our curriculum. And that meant that a company brought in a real problem and paid the university for supervision. This resulted in that students gain exposure, a network, and a better understanding of the working world. And the company received a structured piece of research, and the university got funded for their supervision and kept its teaching connected to the practice. Now, let me move from the theory to the practice with two of my partnerships here in Ghana. The first one I entered into was with the University of Energy and Natural Resources and the Ghana Geospatial Society. And I'm glad to see that the president of the Ghana Geospatial Society is present here. Now this, and the second one, which is about 2 years later, was with KN University. Both were different scopes, but both were built on the same rule. It was an exchange. It was definitely not charity. Neither of those two started with a donation. Each started with something that both sides were needing. In the first one, the framing was, or the partnership that we entered into, the framing was no gains and no losses, which is a very important principle of our Waterworks partnership model as we strive towards sustainability in everything that we do. In the second one, it was capability for capability. Equipment and real use cases from our side, where it was machine learning and academic supervision from the university. I will go into each of one of them in more detail in the next 2 slides, starting with the first partnership, which was with the Ghana Geospace Society and the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani and Dorma. Now, Waterworks, the background therefrom is that Waterworks has introduced drones to the GIS department of Ghana Water, and quite a number. And when equipment arrived, it became clear that the GIS officers needed the capacity to take the fullest value out of the drones. So, as usual, it's easier to buy hardware and hand it over, but to build capacity, which is the field of expertise of universities, is much more difficult. So we looked for partners who also needed something from us. Now, the University of Energy and Natural Resources had the knowledge and the ambition to share it, but lacked the tools. The Ghana Geospace Society has just been formed, so the networking side of the arrangements was an added advantage for them. And Ghana Water needed GIS officers who could use the equipment, the drones that it received. So we had 3 different objectives, but they could be aligned, and that alignment we put in a memorandum of understanding. The important clause was the principle that partners would help each other, and it would be on the basis of no gains, no losses. So nobody would profit from another one's losses. So in practice, Waterworks funded the drone imaging processing software. In this case, it was Pix4D, some laptops, computers, and drones for the university. And in return, the university and the Ghana Geospace Society delivered the training at the Ghana Water Institute. We ran a number of sessions, and the officers came away able to do considerably more with the drones than before. So this was a arrangement which benefited all parties. Now, about 2 to 3 years later, I entered into a second partnership with a university. This time it was KN University. And this one is one that will seems to be growing. The starting point, again, like the previous one, was a mutual need. The university wanted, for example, more advanced drones. It already had the machine learning expertise and object recognition in place. And on our side, Ghana Water and Waterworks, we were developing investment proposals for the African Development Bank and a Danish funding opportunity. And we needed to know more about how many properties were sitting within the reach of our network. Because in Ghana Water, we can only connect everybody that is living within 120-meter radius of a distribution line or main. So by counting the rooftops was for us not an academic exercise, it was a basis for an investment case. So the exchange was quite straightforward. Waterworks invested in a state-of-the-art drone with RTK and multispectral camera, and that equipment would stay with the university for its future projects, while on the other hand, KN University would put in the machine learning, we used the orthomosaic maps that was produced by Ghana Water, and then use object recognition to turn rooftops into shape tiles. But then something better happened. And that's something we neither planned or expected, and that was that Ghana Water and KN University took the work further on their own, without our support. They are now developing recognition of buildings that are under construction, so that they can see and forecast the demand that is coming in the next few years. And also object recognition to recognize and identify polytanks in the system, so to see how much storage there is. And this work has started to travel. It's just a few weeks ago that the university gave a presentation to some of my Waterworks partners in the southern part of Africa. It was received very well, and the demand followed immediately. And now we're at the end of this month, we're teaming up with GWOPA, which is the Global Water Operating Partnership Alliance, to host the same presentation to a network of around 800 utilities. So you'll see that one idea led to the next one. And in this case, I don't know where it ends, so I'm looking forward to see how this develops over time. Now, for the purpose of this anniversary lecture, I try to reduce a successful partnership to a simple equation. And here is what I came up with. The starting point is that we have to have a real problem or a challenge with, importantly, a named owner. That owner can be a person, unit, department, or an organization. But it must be someone who actually feels the pain and the challenge and has an interest in solving it. Second, you need usable data. This doesn't have to be perfect data, because in my experience, perfect data is very rare to come by, but data that can be legally accessed and understood and improved. Third, you need supervised talent. Students can bring energy, creativity, and fresh thinking, but that's no substitute for experienced staff. They need both an academic supervisor and a mentor that understands the reality on the ground. And fourth, you need an adoption owner, somebody who has the authority and the responsibility to decide what happens next and whether the result is used, adapted, funded, and skilled or stopped. So in its simplest form, the partnership is the equation of the real problem, usable data, supervised talent, adoption owner, which makes a partnership with realistic chance of producing something that is actually used, or as my co-presenter said, a decision is made that will change things. If one of the conditions is missing, it can easily derail. Now, coming to the next slide, I'm at the crossroad with Waterworks myself because I'm currently preparing the Waterworks Phase 3 plan, which runs from 2027 to 2030. Now, I have been accused by my colleagues that I have every day new ideas because I see always opportunities. And particular also with the new development in AI and also the geospatial science. I think those can solve real utility challenges. So I ask myself, what are some practical challenges that students or the university can bite their teeth into? Now, for example, meter locations. Our Ghana Water customers are visited every month, and those visited are recorded by our mobile phones with GPS. However, some of the meter coordinates of the customers are decades old and were captured with less accurate technology. So, can we use the monthly recorded GPS in readings to use them and improve the customer meter and meter locations? We also take pictures of the meters. Now that provides also a very rich source of information that can be used to make improvements. For example, is the meter damaged? Are the dials fiddled with? So an indication that people have been tampering with the meter. Or is the seal broken? These are challenges that I believe the university with its students are perfectly capable of introducing and solving. And that is kind of like a win-win partnership, which I, as Waterworks, am keen to champion and support. But we're with a very large group here, so I would like to challenge you some more to developing ideas with strong, unique buying points. So let's go beyond the customer meter. Meters. For example, object recognition can not only identify rooftops and settlement growth. Drone and field data might help to improve the location and condition of the assets. Satellite and Earth observation platforms can monitor water bodies, vegetation change, flood exposure, and aspects of water quality, some of which have already been addressed by my co-presenter. Now, hydraulic modeling is another frontier. Research teams are already exploring and developing physics-informed machine learning and models to estimate system behavior, accelerate simulation, and explore leakage under uncertain demand. In my Dutch professional network, one of the water utilities, namely Vitens, and a university where I did my master's, namely the University of Groningen, are already in a decade-long partnership to see if they can produce hydraulic modeling with the support of machine learning. So critical infrastructure should not be redesigned on the basis of a week hackathon, but often it is a longer term partnership. Now, I'd like to conclude that students and universities can be an effective bridge because they are often early adapters to new tools, especially compared to, for example, the water sector, who are usually laggards when it comes to adopting new innovations. Students and universities are willing to test, code, and compare models. They also gain something very important when they work and collaborate with outside organizations. because then they are exposed to real users, imperfect information and data, organizational constraints, but it can also give them a possible career path. But I also should warn that we shouldn't consider students as free consultants. The vague instructions, like, for example, apply AI to solve our water loss problems, is not a good basis for an educational partnership. In my opinion, the strongest outcome is double. The students should be able to develop something that can build their career and can build the organizational capacity. So I'll close with a principle that summarizes the lecture. Don't start with what you can offer, start with a challenge worth solving and then design a win-win around it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crime. Wow, you would agree with me that the presentations so far have been very informative and thought-provoking, pushing us to move from our comfort zone and then try to partner with industry by not presenting our unique selling point, but then our unique buying point. What does industry need? What can you support industry with to be able to get that win-win arrangement in place? Right, that's very interesting. At this point, we'll move on to our Q&A session. I would invite participants to either raise their virtual hands or submit questions through the Zoom chat. So please, the floor is open. Our presenters are here. If you have any question, please put up your hand and then I'll call you to put forward your question and receive responses. Please let me, if you come up with if you ask the question, let me know who you want to respond. Okay, but okay. And on the other hand, if it's a general question, both presenters can also take turns in responding to them. Right. Okay, we have Christopher Akoto. Christopher, kindly unmute and then ask your question. Or you're giving a thumbs up. Oh, okay. It's like a thumbs up from Christopher to the presenters. Okay. Dear participants, the floor is open for your questions. Let me start with the very first question to open the floor. To Mr. Henry Bafo, you mentioned that data is not a problem. That you have enough data to work with. But then my question to you is, as Mr. Dryson mentioned, sometimes the data is not perfect. There are biases in the data. For example, if you consider a place like Ghana, you may have more data or quality data coming from the urban setting as compared to the rural settings. The rural areas are normally not fairly covered. So in your line of work, have you come across such challenge? And if you have, how have you been going around it? How do you work with such data sets?
All right. Thank you very much, Efiba, for the question. And I also want to acknowledge the wonderful presentation from Jocelyn. So, in answering the question, of course, like you quoted, Crane, data can never be perfect, and rightly so. If you are looking at open catalog data for remote areas where there is not much investment or activity happening, you'll struggle to come by. But day by day, it's improving. I think he also mentioned about the drone technology being a way of capturing some data. But interestingly, I just want to alert you that it is improving, and to our participants that it is improving. I don't know how many of us took notice of the Alpha Earth data that was put together by Google, because of the availability of AI. Now, all the gaps seem to have been filled with all the valuable free data that exists. Because if you look at from constellation to constellation, every of them have their interest areas. And so it's called the Alpha Earth satellite embedding. It's a 3D data set, that dates from 2017 to 2024 in a 10 by 10 pixels, and available in Google Earth Engine, which is obviously free. So yes, there may be gaps, but it is being filled up rapidly. It's being filled up rapidly, and so the charge is that, one, we can of ourselves even take the lead or participate at the forefront of filling such gaps. Yes, but like my colleague speaker said, we can only work with what we have. Big data, apart from the fact that we are having satellite data, there are other data sets, in situ data to complement. And when you bring in situ data with the satellite data and leveraging AI, then you are able to fill it up to an extent. So even the present day technology allows us to be able to fill those gaps that initially in the previous settings were not possible. So and that is where we believe that this industry academia partnership can help us to be able to solve our own problems and help our leaders to make the right decisions. So yes, in a nutshell, that is what I want to say. I've experienced it before, and the situation is very different in this time and age.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. We have Sebastian's hand up. So Sebastian, you can please unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to the presenters for an amazing job done to the topics. My question is still on, I think it's been mentioned probably across both presentation, and then just the last response to the question mentioned the leveraging of AI. I think I'm one person who is really actually getting to understand better in terms of these AI operations. I just want to find out from both presentation or maybe follow up on the questions asked earlier, if there are specific standards or specific guide or rules that guide the data that is generated by AI, and then also to be able to verify that this data that has been generated by the AI is actually what we want or is authentic. I'm saying this because there's been several cautions as to what the AI tools are giving us. I've tried one or several other AI. You ask them some specific questions, they'll tell you at the point you don't have much information on that. And then you say something, it's like you're adding up to their vocabulary or something like that, and they mention it. So I just want to find out whether we have specific rules or standards that are guiding the data that comes using AI. If we have that, that is my first question. And then my second question is, are we referring to specific AI tools that we are using, or it's just any general AI tools? Because one of the aspects of AI is that any data you feed into that AI has become more or less like a training data. And so if we are specifically using specific AI tools, then we should be also mindful of the data we put in there at the end of the day. So that's my two questions. I might have a follow-up from what comes as an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think this is kind of a general question. So both presenters can take turns in and responding to them.
Okay, well, I can only partly answer that question because when we talk about standards, AI can give you indeed not the right answer. And that is why we engaged the partnership with the university that they already had a model that could identify rooftops, but they were not accurate enough. So it's actually the validation of what the machine learning proved was the task of the lecturers in combination with the students. So we were actually training the model to get better and better using our feedback loop. Now separately, but I think Mr. Bafu maybe have more experiences, is that in my day-to-day work, I use multiple AI models or AI tools such as Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT, and I do have to feed them if all of the output and check it, because indeed I have to do some validation of if the output is correct, and it can be solved with better prompting, but it's a learning process, and the AI tools are getting better, but it's not perfect. But in this case, with our partnership with the university, it was the university that did the check if the outcome of the machine learning was good and if it could be improved.
All right. Yes, I just want to add to what Crane said. So of course, there are standards and policies being shaped up day by day. Ghana launched their AI policy not too long ago. And then also, I followed with interest the immediate past Vice Chancellor's visit to UK, where and then the call she made that voice agents should be interested, or for voice agent development should be interested in looking at integrating local African languages. So the issue here is that, and I think Crane puts it perfectly, that the present foundational models, as we call them, may not have local context to them. They are global. And so the opportunity here is that we have a responsibility of feeding or building models or agents that have accurate data. And if you remember, I mentioned that even though data gaps exist, institute data is available, ground data is available to help improve what is being churned out. So with regards to the various standards and authorities within the geospatial ecosystem, like Open Geospatial Consortium and then the UN arm for global spatial information management, they are building, they are churning out frameworks, global AI standards, and all of that. But at the end of the day, if we want to get specific, accurate responses to the global AI tools that exist, we then ought to contribute to the shaping of that. And so that is what I can say, that the standards are there. Of course, if you are churning out things, accuracy levels and all of that ought to be very transparently communicated, and then if people are comfortable to using it, then we use it. Recently, I had the opportunity to speak to some students, largely from the Ghana Telecom University. And one of the things I encouraged them to do was that they should be interested in being the people building these tools, much more than being the people that are merely using them. And when we are able to divert the attention of the students there, I'm sure that we'll be able to build local knowledge into these global tools that will serve the needs of Ghana, the needs of Africa, the needs of the local community. And I believe that crowdsourcing is one of the most reliable approaches to getting such data in, of course, validated by the experts and the intermediaries before it goes into these AI tools. Then confidence will be built. But in terms of ethics, in terms of standards, in terms of governance frameworks, I believe that there are some and even more still being developed. That's what I want to add. Thank you very much.
Sebastian, you seem to have a follow-up question.
Yeah, it's just not a follow-up question per se, but I think it's an addition to what they've mentioned. One thing I have studied in terms of AI tools and their operations, which had a standard from the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, RICS, recently. One thing with the use of AI is that just when we are putting in the necessary data, getting the result, excited about the result and stuff, one thing that is constant in the usage of AI is the human factor in the whole gap. What's your judgment as a human being? What's your understanding? Are the answers provided by the AI tools, are they answers that are correct or not? So the human factor in the AI operations models and whatever result we get from them is very important, as stated in all the policies that have been mentioned globally and then even locally with what we have in Ghana. So we would have to be very careful in terms of how we deal with this one. And my other aspect is to ask, do we have any security of these data we put into these systems in terms of how do we protect the data? How do we make sure that that data doesn't go somewhere else and is used for something else that we're not expected to? What are the security measures in terms of how this data is handled by the AI tools and models? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question and your contribution. It's true, right now it's very difficult to tell the difference between a lie and the truth, because with AI, every lie can be made to look like the truth. So that's where we come in as humans. We need to ask the deep questions and make sure that we get the right answers. We have a question from Priscilla Obiniwa Apia. She says, how can early career geospatial professionals stay relevant and continuously adapt without feeling left behind in the field of AI as the industry is moving so fast? This question goes to Mr. Henry.
All right, thank you, Fiba and Priscilla. Thank you for your question. It's a one that many students and many young professionals are concerned, especially where the narrative of AI is going to take over the work of some people. In fact, some research and things have been done highlighting the disciplines or the the job categories that AI is going to take. And but as I mentioned in my last submission, and that is something I have kept encouraging the students to do, the young professionals to do. You can't stop learning at the pace that AI is moving. You cannot stop learning, and also because the learning has somewhat been made easier or precise, so you will have to keep learning, and then also uh, be interested in being part of the builders. It's important. Mr. Sebastian mentioned that human elements cannot be taken out of this chain. It's always going to, humans are always going to be needed, So I believe, many people have started learning what we call prompt engineering, and there are many opportunities. People are hiring people to be able to engage with the AIs accurately, So even though some people might have lost a job, a new opportunity has been created, and it is going to be accessible to those who have built capacity or who have followed the pace of the evolution. So my take is that you should be conversant of the AIs. You should be able to use it to enhance whatever you are doing, to improve whatever you are doing, or whichever career path that you are taking. You should know how AI can influence and can make you even more productive, whilst also understanding that if you tend to be the one behind controlling the AI, then there should not be any scare. And while some jobs are being dissolved, new ones are being created. And to be part of those who are sought after in the new job opportunities that are coming, you sure should keep pace with the changing trends in the field. So that is what I want to add. We give opportunity for some students to do their internship, national service. We have some alliances with a number of academic institutions just so that they don't miss out on the changing trends, what is happening within the space, and then they come out better prepared. And I believe that apart from that, self-interest is also key to keep pace with what is happening. Then you shouldn't be scared. All right, thank you for the opportunity to answer this question, if you will.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry. There's another question here from Edwin Ni Ama Dowana Okay. He says, under the Ghana's Data Protection Act 2012, Act 843, when does remote sensing or drone imagery become personal data? And what obligations apply when we collect, store, analyze, and share such imagery? So as we are monitoring, taking data with drones and satellite images, how does it infringe on people's rights? And when do you say that this is personal data? And then if you have to share or use such data, how do you go about them? He said anyone can answer this question.
All right, I would like to have the first take, and then
Okay.
maybe Kren can add up. So interestingly, when we were engaging with Ghana Data Protection concerning our data protection certification, there was a very interesting conversation regarding spatial data. Of course, if you had a drone and then you flew over your neighbor's house and took a picture, that is personal data. It's a violation on their privacy. So from the onset, the data that is being captured entails or includes personal data. There's a caveat, of course, because there is a anonymity sometimes with it, but this is also on one side. On the other side, there is precision that points to a specific location. So if you know, we all are aware that there is a certain displacement when you compare the civilian systems with the military systems, just so that that distortion that does not uh, allow for um, too much precision to get to accurate locations. So personal data, geospatial data obviously has personal data in the GPS logs, the tracking, the address details, all of that. And the same principle governs it. When you are collecting geodata, as with any other data, you ought to seek clear consent from the people. And at best, if you're not able to get to everyone, if you have taken a drone of a farm, you obviously ought to have got the consent of the farmers that you are taking their data, or otherwise it ought to be anonymized so that then you are not breaching data protection laws. So whether you are a data controller or you are the generator or the user of it, you ought to still apply the same principles. There are gray areas, implementation may be challenging. Um, for example, if you are loading something to collect data from farmers, you still are you still are obliged to alert them on what you are using it for and all of that. So we had a very interesting conversation. We couldn't agree on some things. We disagreed on some points, but it's a true issue that has to be dealt with holistically. But bottom line is that the same rules, the same principles govern them, and then the interpretation depends on the conversation that ensues between us and then the data protection.
All right, thank you, Mr. Henry. There's another question to you from James Saka. He says, I have a question for Mr. Henry. He said data is not a problem and that we have volumes of data in the system. My question is, how accessible are the data to users, especially the Ghana Agricultural Information Management System data?
Yes. So, George, thank you very much. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, if you Digital Health Africa, that keeps data on all, I mean, from Sentinel and from several other constellations, Landsat and Co. They are all available for access. They've gone further to analyze and make them, process them and make them analysis ready. And these are all there. So there are volumes of data. This Ghana Agriculture Information Management System is an open data, you know. But interestingly, this question comes right on the heels of what what we just answered, that if the platform has farm locations of certain farm data collected, to a large extent, that ought to be managed and ensure that we are not in violation of anything. So I believe that they are highly accessible. Maybe just to mention, one of the agents we are building at Big Data is to aid using large language models to aid people to be able to get the right catalogs to get their data from. or it fishes out the links to the right data sources. Because just as you are asking the question, it's not everyone that is very much aware of where these catalogs are and how they are able to access such data easily for use, And of course, we've been mentioning data. If we are talking about access, then we are also going to have to distinguish the specific types of data. And for Earth observation purposes, if we are talking about satellite data, then we know that even to a certain resolution is freely available. If you want even precision and much more higher resolution, then of course it comes at a cost. So categorizing the type of data is important, and to answer this question even in a better way. But to a large extent, what is needed for the kind of work, general works that we do, largely they are available.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. We have about 3 minutes left. I'll take one more question. We have a question in the chat, and then we'll move on to the next item on the program. This is from Harriet. Miss Harriet says that her question is to Mr. Crane. There is a concern among researchers that although we try to engage with industry in solving problems, when it comes to implementation, the solution is given out to procurement for tendering to bigger suppliers whom academics cannot compete with. What is your take on this?
Thank you, Harriet, for the question. I think that's a valid concern. It can often be difficult for universities to compete competitive in a tender if it has to go out for tender, because that is normally not your field of expertise. Now, I do see in the Netherlands it's changing a little bit. Oh, there's an echo on the line. Because the government has said a while ago, more than a decade ago, that university must get a certain percent of their revenues from the business and industry side. So that means that about 20%, for example, of their revenue streams, of their expenditures must be funded by external parties, which means that they are setting up departments that will try to win those projects, build up track record, etc. So that will put them in the longer term in a better position. But yes, short answer, valid concern. It will require a lot of effort from the universities to actually to build up track record, to become competitive in tendering processes.
Well, Harriet, I hope you have your question answered, unless you have a follow-up. She says thank you, so which means that she agrees with you. Well, we've had a very interesting discussion so far, very insightful contributions. Your questions have also been brilliant, and then our responses from the responses from our presenters have also been very good. You agree with me that they have done a very good job, and then we have to formally recognize their incredible work by giving them a virtual plaque. In due time, would present the real one to them. So at this point, I will transition to presenting to our speakers their citations. So let me share. I'd like to share the citations, and then okay. So who do we have here? All right. So let me make it as I can see. So ladies and gentlemen, with your kind permission, I would like to read the citation for Mr. Crine Jason. This is in grateful recognition of your invaluable contribution as the distinguished speaker at the Department of Geomatic Engineering Distinguished Lecture Series 1, held in celebration of the department's 50th anniversary. Your insightful presentation, wealth of international experience, and commitment to advancing innovation, capacity building, and sustainable water management have inspired our faculty, our students, alumni, and industry partners. Your dedication to fostering collaboration between academia and practice is deeply appreciated. This is presented to you by the Department of Geomatic Engineering, KNUST, Kumasi. Thank you so much, Mr. Crine, for your contribution and everything you have done and continue to do for the department. So this is where I'll ask for a virtual clap. You can clap in your rooms or your offices. Right. Now, the second citation would go to Mr. Henry Kwamena Bafo. We are saying is in recognition and appreciation of your distinguished contribution as the distinguished speaker at the Department of Geomatic Engineering Distinguished Lecture Series 1, held in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the department. Your outstanding contribution to geospatial science, geographic information systems, remote sensing, and geospatial application development have advanced the use of geointelligence for innovation, for sustainable development in and across Africa. Through your leadership, innovation, and commitment to bridging technology and practice, you have inspired our faculty, our students, alumni, and industry partners to pursue excellence and innovation in the geospatial profession. Given to you by the Department of Geomatic Engineering, KNUST. Thank you so much, Mr. Henry, for your time, for your wealth of knowledge shared with us. God bless you all. Now, we have, this is 4:48. Let me see if we have any question in the chat so far. I think, all right, we don't have any questions. So at this point, with the kind permission of the chair, we would like to take our closing remark from Professor Prospalari, if Professor is online.
Yeah, I'm online.
All right.
Thank you, moderator. So the HOD, our very distinguished, hardworking lecturers, the planning committee chair and members, alumni president and executive, alumni, ladies and gentlemen. As we bring this very first distinguished anniversary lecture to a close, I would like to express on behalf of the chairperson our sincere appreciation to our speakers and participants. Looking at the numbers, it's very encouraging for such a first engagement. Today's lecture undoubtedly sets the tone for our 50th anniversary celebration lecture series. And of course, the focus was on one of the most transformative frontiers of our profession, which is Geo AI, big data, and emerging geospatial technologies. We reckon that the head of department in his opening remarks reminded us that the future of geomatic engineering is increasingly driven by digital transformation, and our ability to prepare the next generation depends on our collective commitment towards this. And I'm sure that alumni gathered will also heed to the call to support our students that are currently in the faculty. You recounted the very frustrating situation of they having access to equipment to use. And in this data, if it is driven by technology and simple equipment will not be at the reach of this our future generation, that will not be worthwhile. So I know that this appeal is to alumni, industry, and our partners.
Our first speaker, Mr. Henry Kwame Bafo, challenged us to think differently. His reminder that Africa has no shortage of pilot projects, but a shortage of scale solutions, and that outputs are not outcomes. It's a call for all of us to focus on creating real impact. Perhaps his most profound message was that many of our challenges are not data problems, but decision problems. As geomatic engineers, geospatial professionals, and surveyors, our responsibility is therefore not only to generate data, but to provide the intelligence that supports better decision. And I like the part he said that it's not just about creating maps or I want to draw a map or I want to prepare a plan. What will that solve? And I think that we should be more decision driven. We must be agents of change in using spatial intelligence to solve spatial issues. Our second speaker, Sakrine, complemented this perspective by emphasizing that the real gap is not ideas, it's translation. He encouraged us to move beyond partnership on paper and build collaboration that transform research into practical solutions for our communities and industry. His message reinforces the importance of strong academia industry linkages, and this is what he's been doing, and we commend him highly. Finally, as I reflect on today's discussions, two lessons stands out. First, innovation only matters when it improves decisions and creates measurable impact. And secondly, the future of geomatic engineering will depend on meaningful collaboration among academia, industry, government, and alumni. Together, we can build the capacity, partnership, and the innovations needed to shape Ghana's digital and geospatial future. So, on behalf of the department, I thank our distinguished speakers for sharing their expertise, our moderator, our participants for their thoughtful engagement, and our organizing committee for their dedication. I encourage all of us not to let this be the first. There are a series of these lecture series and activities on the celebration that will be coming up. Do make it a point to join, and together we shall continue with the conversations. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you. Good evening.
Good evening, Professor Prosper Larry, and thank you very much for your closing remark. Before I take leave of you, or before we bring this session to a close, I have something shared on the screen. It's our alumni year group fundraising competition. Remember, the HOD said that there are a lot of things that we have to do as a department, and then before we can do all these things, we need money. And so this is the flyer. We are going to share, or we are going to post it on the various year groups. We encourage all of you to participate in this. We are not going to give any quota to anybody, but then it's going to be like among the year groups. You compete, the year that has the highest, that will have the highest amount would we are going to recognize you and give you some, bragging rights, as the winner in the fundraising competition. So please, when you see the flyer, it's from the Department of Geomatic Engineering. Please contribute through our Momo number is down here. We have the merchant, and also the merchant number is there. The merchant ID is also there. So you can, whichever form you want to use, you can use it to facilitate your giving. When you are donating, please include your name and your year group so that we can compile them. We'll know which year you're coming from so that your fund doesn't go to the wrong year. And so at this point, everything has been said. Wish you all the very best, and thank you very much for joining today's discussion.
I think we can take a picture. All of us can turn on our cameras. And
Cameras, okay.
Yes, for reporting purposes.
All right. So who is going to take the photo?
Take
Is
off your
it
screen.
you or the
Dennis is here. Dennis is wonderful at those things. Dennis.
All right. So let me.
Is Dennis with us?
Is it up?
Shout out to Mr. Tinedu. George, please help us with the pictures as well. George Mankwa.
Most of the cameras are still off. Okay. So Prosper, your camera is off. Good. Right. Now I'm seeing the faces. Haruna Musa, your camera is still off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing faces that we've missed, eh?
Yeah. Larissa Kwanzaa. Okay, so I think now we have a number of them on.
Okay. So yeah, Dakosa, please, you to take.
So
Let's have as many
please let
voting
us know
as
if you
possible.
want. Okay, sorry. HOD, please. Go ahead.
I'm saying that we should have as many people taking as possible. Oh, we have one of the big men here, Dr. Kumaple. Yes, we met some time ago. I don't think you remember. Wonderful man, very insightful. Thank you all for coming. George, please let us know when you're taking the pictures, when you're done, so we can go off.
George, please tell us to ask her to say cheese when you're ready so that we don't miss our smiles.
Okay. All right, you can say cheese now.
All right, cheese.
Okay.
I hope you got a very good shot.
Yeah.
Siba, your camera is off.
Oh, George, please take it again. All the smile amounted to nothing. Please take it again.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
thank you,
enjoy your
Prof.
evening.
Fuku. George, are
Hello,
you okay?
Prosper. Hello, Prosper.
George, are we okay?
Hey,
Yeah,
Eric
yeah.
Poku,
Thank you very
please
much.
Stanley.
answer your
Yeah.
call.
Okay.
Oh, Kwame.